Hello, I'm not sure if you guys can see me. I can. Okay, I'm getting like an echo when I watch myself, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm a little bit red in the face because I've been running on my treadmill. It's actually pretty cold outside. That's why I'm not in the studio tonight. I hope everyone is well. It's good to see a small crowd. Good to see you guys. I'll have to lean forward to see who's there. Stephanie, Firefly, I'm really glad to see you here. Debbie, Stacy, Rudka, okay, Marlene, Freebird, there we go. Okay, so you'll know why we're here. We're here to discuss the phone data review and any questions that you guys might have around that. Are there any questions? Are you guys hearing me all right? Hello, Corin Levi. Okay, so the topic of discussion, as I said today, is the phone data review and the aftermath. Have you guys learned anything? Has your knowledge of the people in this case changed after going through the phone data review slowly, step by step in real time? Has that made any kind of difference for you guys? So tonight I'll be taking your questions exclusively, especially the patrons that watched the whole thing. We're also going to be talking about remorse, sleeping arrangements, the manner in which Watts tried to bring about a miscarriage and how many times. Um, Also, Shanann going to her in-laws to pick up Watts on the night of August 6th. The fifth point, the ongoing disbelief and incredulity that Watts thought he could get away with it. Like a lot of people are sort of saying, I can't believe he thought he could get away with it. And I think that's maybe something to talk about, that maybe we shouldn't be in so much disbelief. People get away with a lot every day. They do get away with a lot every day. And then could Watts have fielded a winnable defense? So we're going to talk about some of those things. Hi, AD from California. Hello, Holly. Hello, Connie. Some names that are definitely familiar from the Patreon folk. Okay, so do you want me to start with the first thing, or do you guys want to start with a question? So Janae says, am I saying it right? Or was it Janae Ann? When Chris and Shanann were in South Carolina, I think you mean North Carolina, she decided she was putting the house up, maybe South Carolina. She was putting the house up for sale, and Chris had to move out. When they got back to Colorado, it all changed. Why did she do a 180? Um, well, I think Chris Watts got a job in Colorado. I think that had something to do with it. I don't really want to speculate about that. I don't know as much about that part of her life, so I'd rather not speculate. Let's rather talk about the sort of phone data review side of things. Hello, Tiffy. Hello, Pamela. Hello, Kim from England. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking about remorse. That's something that's come up quite a few times while I'm really sort of red in the face. And you guys are welcome to leave questions. I'll sort of get to them as I go through each point. I'm sort of going to go through about 6 points. So with regard to remorse, I don't think Chris Watts feels absolutely no remorse. I think he feels a number of emotions. I think he He's sorry that he got caught. I think he's sorry that things have turned out the way they have. I think he wishes things were different, either that he was not in jail or find himself to what he's going to do. So he's kind of, in a way, he's accepted the consequences. He's willing to take the risk. He thinks it's a calculated risk and he thinks he can get away with it. And so when he doesn't get away with it, there's not really remorse because he's already resigned himself emotionally to an outcome. There may be regret that he made a mistake or he should have said this or that. But I don't think it's true to say that he had absolutely no remorse. I think when his head cleared somewhat, when a certain amount of time went by, he may have thought, wow, what was I doing? When his addiction to Kissinger fizzled and that was over, I think he also had a sense of remorse. I don't think he has true remorse because the test for true remorse is quite simple. If you have true remorse, if there's true contrition, then you tell the truth. Then you apologize unreservedly. You volunteer to tell the truth. In Christianity, when you give your life to the Lord, you kind of account for your sins. You account for your sins, and then you're forgiven. And then, but it's got to be a genuine thing. You've got to confess your sins, kind of thing. And the same applies in true crime. If you genuinely confess your sins, then that's remorse. Then that is real, and then that's worth something. And I think what we've seen with Chris Watts is we've seen something in between. We've seen some remorse and some truth telling, and some not remorse and some lies, lots of lies. Okay, let's see. Do you really think Chris was addicted to Nicole or needed a way out? That's from Pamela. Yes, I do think he was addicted to Nicole Kissinger. He said so. And it looked that way as well. He was constantly on his phone. Think of it as being addicted to your phone, but someone is in your phone, that kind of thing. Someone's asked a question about Crime Rocket. I'm not going to be talking about that. There are going to be a couple of things I'm not going to talk about. We are to talk about the phone data review. So is that clear about the remorse aspect? Are there any of you that think he's got absolutely no remorse? Okay, Stephanie, I'm reading your message. Thanks for your support there. So someone called Bawani, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right. There have been familicides before, but the public interest in this case is nowhere close to dying down. Why do you think this is so? That's an interesting question. I think the reason is for a couple of reasons. One is because it's a picture postcard family, because it's a sort of fairy tale family. They sort of look like the perfect couple, and this looks like the American dream, doesn't it? And that was what Shanann was selling, essentially. I think it has lasted this long because of the volume of social media, because of the amount of videos and photos Shanann has put up has given us incredible access to these people. And for, I won't say the first time, but in a way the first time, we've kind of got a sense of that these are real people, that real people died, we really got to know these people inside out. We got to know them inside their homes. And so because of this extraordinary access, I think the shock value and the interest and all of that is there. I also think the scale of contradiction between the fairy tale and the Survey 319, the sort of the beautiful fairy tale, and then the horror of Survey 319. I think that dichotomy is something that fascinates and terrifies and interests people as well. Okay. I wish I could hear you guys. I wish it wasn't, I didn't have to read everything. So thanks, Connie, for your comment there. Stephanie, we felt like we knew them through social media. I think you make quite a good point there, Stephanie, just that I felt all along, when I wrote the books right in the beginning, I felt all along there are a lot of people that don't seem to have any idea who these people are. And I'm talking about Shanann Watts, Chris Watts, Nicole Kessinger, and to some extent the Thrive. I sort of got the feeling people quickly chose sides, but there was a very poor grasp of who are these people really? Like, what is the actual dynamic of their relationship? And as soon as you say, well, that person's a narcissist, that person's got BPD or whatever, then you think you know what is going on, but all you've got is a label. And it takes a long time studying all the messages, studying the timelines, studying the backstory, studying the videos, just studying everything, getting a sense of who these people really are. Okay. Corin, your question is, do you think that Shanann was sleeping when she was killed, and that was why she did not seem to put up a fight? No. I don't think she was sleeping. And I think that's a good way to introduce the next topic, which is sleeping arrangements. So, Stephanie, let's see if you can answer this question in the chat over there. Do you think that they ever shared a bed? So I'm asking you guys the question now. Do you think Chris Watts and Shanann shared a bed in the last 6 weeks of their life? And this is for especially the people on Patreon. Okay, so Stephanie, you've answered no. So I agree with that. You're only going to know the answer to that when you go through night after night after night, and you hear Shanann sort of complaining that it's just another night that we slept apart. I'm sleeping on the couch again, and it just goes on and on and on. And then she wants to sleep with him, and then he rejects her. And unless you pay meticulous attention, you're not going to get the daily reality, and then also the overarching, well, for 6 weeks they didn't actually sleep not only together in the same bed, but they didn't have sex. And so I've always found the claim that not only did they sleep in the same bed, not only did he go to that bed that night, but that he had sex with her basically for the first time in 6 weeks. Just absolutely unbelievable. Not like, wow, unbelievable, not believable. He was addicted to Kessinger. He didn't want to sleep with anyone else. And he eventually didn't want to talk to Shanann. So I don't think he killed Shanann in his sleep or in the bed or in the bedroom, to answer your question. Okay, let's see. Any other questions here? I wonder if there's a way that I can make this bigger. Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the manner in which Watts tried to bring about a miscarriage and how many times. So, what do you think the answer is to that? First of all, do you think Chris Watts did try to bring about a miscarriage? Let's get to that first. Okay, so Stephanie, I agree with you. I think it is at least twice. Could be more than that, but it was at least twice. The official answer to that is either that he didn't do it, because that's certainly not in the discovery, and it's not really in the proper media archive, that whole thing. So what he said to Cheryl and Cadel was something along the lines that he tried to bring a miscarriage twice and then he changed it to once. And then I think the once was, I'm not sure which once he was referring to, because the one time was when when he arrived in North Carolina, and the other time was when she left for Arizona. But he doesn't really clarify which was the once, for what it's worth. I think the reason why he would, if you had to ask him, he'd probably say, no, not when I went to North Carolina, because then you might suspect that he got oxycodone from his family or something, which I don't think he did, and I don't think, how can I put it? I don't think he wants you to think that. So I don't think that happened, but I also think he doesn't want you to think that. So Mom the Bomb asks, do I think that Watts owes the truth of what happened that night to his parents? Shanann killed them. So, and we also know that he didn't seem interested in their input leading up to the plea deal. So I don't think that we can necessarily expect him to tell his parents what really happened. If he's not going to tell his parents, I don't think he's going to tell anyone. Okay, so the manner in which Watts tried to bring about the miscarriage, so we agree that it was at least 2 times, it could have been more. And the other thing was the oxycodone, right? But what we're talking about here is the manner in which he gave it to Shanann. And someone, I remember while we were doing the phone data review, someone thought that when he gave her a back rub, because Shanann spoke about getting a back rub on the first night, that it may have gone through the skin or something. Okay, sorry, Stephanie, you're right. I don't know whether she would have tasted it in her shakes. I would presume not. I'm not sure if oxycodone's got a taste, but some medications do, some don't. I don't know. So I guess anyone who has taken oxycodone orally, does it have a taste? But I'm not sure whether you would pick it up. Bear in mind how small those pills are and the volume of a shake. But that is, I think, the most logical way that he would get it into a system. He never mentioned how, but he did mention that he used the oxycodone. So anyway, the point is, someone thought that it went through the skin, but if you were giving someone a back rub, then it would have gone through your skin as well. So that wouldn't have happened. Was the tablet coated or not? I don't know. I don't know all those sort of details. One would have to get oxy yourself and, do tests or something like that. Wow. This is my very first super chat. Thank you, Lee. Wow, 15 euros. Hello from Berlin. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Funny enough, when I set this up, I tried to set up the super chat, and I was under the impression it wasn't set up, or there was some problem. Anyway, but really, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Corin says, do you think that the reason he took the plea deal was because he was so much of an introvert that he couldn't cope? That's an interesting question. I think that is maybe 40 to 60% of the reason he took the plea deal. I think he really, of all the criminals out there, he was the one who least wanted to be in court. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So anyway, it's a theory that the oxycodone was administered through a shake. Some people have speculated that the second shake came in on the morning of the murders, on the night of the murders. I don't believe that is what happened, because when would Shanann drink a shake between 1:58 in the morning and 4 in the morning? I just don't see her doing that. Interestingly, in the affidavit, Watts talks about, and also to Coda, he talks about, well, what did he do that morning? Well, he made a shake. It's just a detail that seems irrelevant, right? Pippin, why was there a lactose-free empty drink in the rubbish when none of them was lactose intolerant? I'm going to pass on that question. Thanks, Hofrutter. Icy tastes like aspirin. You mean oxy? Oxy, okay. I didn't know that. I'm not really a big drug user, so something that I do know what it tastes like. A antihistamine tastes terrible. Also, sleeping pills taste terrible. That point where you put a pill in your mouth and you reaching kind of for a glass of water, and then you taste the pill in that interim. You do get the taste of it. So, sorry, I kind of missed who asked the question, but someone asked, do you think he was misled in taking the plea deal? I think he was. I don't think he was totally misled. I don't think he was totally misled, but I think there was a degree of coercion, and I think there was a degree of misinformation, if I can put it that way. I don't know if Chris Watts knew that even if he lost the trial, he probably would have ended up where he ended up. So I don't know what he won. I think you're right, Stephanie. I think that may have been a sort of a ploy from the exterior where they could almost like of the jail that would really stress him out. And so you're giving him a bargain, you're giving him a deal where you're saying, well, you don't need to experience that. We can sort of deliver you from that kind of thing. Thanks, Firefly. I'm not really, if I see a comment that's snarky, I just go to the next one. Okay, so I think that's Corin. You say you reading Silver Fox Wedded Husband. How is that going? How do you rate that compared to all the other books? I don't know how many you've read, but what are you thinking of the Wedded Husband, Wedded Wife books? Connie, I think you're right that one of the big questions was for me was how long did the premeditation last? And it's a very tricky question because you kind of get two levels of premeditation. You get a long, almost unconscious premeditation where it's fantasy and daydreaming and wishful thinking in a criminal sense. And then you get the more grainy, crystallized premeditation where you've decided, I'm now going to do this and I'm going to do it like that, and I need to be aware of that, and it's becoming practical. As soon as you transition to that, wow, Marlene, thanks for that. Wow, wow, okay. You guys are going to make me blush. Maybe it's a good thing that I'm but red in the face already. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks, Marlene. Thanks. Appreciate it. Well, Corin, you said you've read through this one, brings so much light. I just thought that this whole idea of weddedness was a very interesting perspective to see. Weddedness, like almost like where you're trapped in a situation. Do you know what I mean? Like you're wedded, you can't escape it. Thanks, Hachinam. Okay. So yeah, what was I saying? Besides the weddedness. So I'm just bowled over by these super chats. It's sometimes crazy how hard it is to make money as an author, and in other ways, certainly like on YouTube, it looks like it's not that difficult. Yeah. Stephanie. Okay. Thanks, Stacy. So let's go on to number 4, Shanann going to her in-laws to pick what's up on the night of August 6th. And the crazy thing is that you actually had a power failure when this happened. Have you noticed how there was a power failure when Shanann was about to leave? And it's almost as if the gods were saying, don't go, there were storms and all sorts of things were happening. And it was almost like if Shanann's flight had been delayed, she would have been alive, kind of thing. Can you imagine if he'd killed the children and then Shanann didn't go back that night? What would have happened then? That would have been crazy. So I just want to respond to Sakura Girl, where I've heard this quite a lot, that where people say, I'm gobsmacked that anyone would think that oxy causes miscarriages. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm not like opiates are so regularly used that people kind of regularly die from abusing them. Some accidentally, and some eventually get to the point where they abuse them to such an extent that they die. So, if you can die from an overdose, why would a fetus inside you not be susceptible? So I'm not saying it's the ideal way to bring about a miscarriage, but from Chris Watts' perspective, bear in mind he's got a huge supply in the basement. Also, he's kind of got his tracks covered through the fact that Shanann was probably using oxycodone anyway because she was a lupus sufferer. So if they found oxycodone in her system, so if she died even though he was trying to get rid of the baby, if she had died, then you could explain that as, well, she took it herself, right? Because she was taking it anyway. On the other hand, if the baby had died, he could also explain it, well, maybe Shanann took it. It wouldn't be his fault. In other words, plausible deniability. Well, I think, Connie, what has been proved through this was that what is quite amazing is that the baby survived these 2 attempts, and Shanann was very sick, but the baby was evidently fine. Okay, so let's go on to number 4. I believe this was a. Why do you think so many still think NK was involved when she clearly wasn't? That's from Anthony. I think a lot of people want to believe she was involved. I think there's a combination of there are a couple of dots, like the ping and the fact that she wasn't completely truthful. So there's a few dots that lead you to think there could be something there. And then I think there's also like a sense of what happened in the Watts case is terrible. How can I put it? Pinata, right? He's not a great target to go after because he's like a sitting duck. He's like a nice guy. Does that make sense? So I think there's a sense of also the fact that Nicole Kessinger's disappeared is mysterious, and it's almost like, does that mean, is that a sign of something? Tasha, you've only read some of my books. Wow. Thank you, Half Rutter. So you make a good point there that your daughter took Oxy and had to stop a month before she planned on getting pregnant. That's even before she got pregnant, because it's not good for the fetus. It's certainly not. You might say it won't bring about a miscarriage, but it certainly isn't healthy. And another thing that's not healthy is, and I say this under correction, there's certain Thrive products that I also recommend you don't use during pregnancy. I'm not sure about it. I don't know. I think it's the shakes you don't take, or the pills. But there's something that I read that you're not supposed to take while you're pregnant. Now, I think any scenario like that, anything where they say you shouldn't take this when you're pregnant, is something you probably shouldn't take a lot of when you're healthy either. If it can damage a fetus, it's not very good for human health otherwise. I mean, another example is alcohol, right? Okay, so Minnie, I'm going to talk about. It's actually point number 4 I need to get to, but this idea that how did he think he could get away with it? Someone made a really good comment on Patreon, just talking about the incredible hubris that is going on. But there's an incredible hubris going on in the world right now. Facebook and social media and Instagram can be described overall as incredible hubris. Some people's YouTube channels, the entire channel, can be described as incredible hubris. There are people getting away with things all the time. In politics, in lots of different ways, people are getting away with things all the time. If we take Chris Watts and we take multi-level marketers are getting away with things all the time as well, whether you're talking about the people at the top of the pyramid or at the bottom. If you talk about Chris Watts, well, he was getting away with the affair, right? And he managed to fool his wife, and he managed, I think, in a way to fool Kissinger, because I don't think Kissinger would have stayed with if Kissinger knew exactly what Watts was doing. I don't think she would have stayed with him, which is also why he had to commit a crime. He had to cover up the reality, also in terms of Kissinger. So he did manage to get away with things. He was used to getting away with things, and one of the ways people get away with things is by lying. And they think when they commit a murder, well, I'll just lie about that. Just a little bit different. Um, True crime is a different kettle of fish to to making up stories on social media. Marlene, you are trying Thrive now. Is it working? So Freebird asks an excellent question. Do I think NK will ever go public? I don't know. I think there's a possibility that she never will, because she may have made a deal as well. And there's a possibility that that in the fullness of time, circumstances may change. They may have already changed, and she may feel she needs to set the record straight. It's only been 2 years since the event. She may have made an arrangement with the oil industry that she gets another dream job. But what if the company that she made that arrangement with isn't going to survive this current dilemma that we're in? In other words, they can't hold up their end of the bargain. Then in terms of survival, who knows what she might do? So, but let me ask you guys a question. If you were Nicole Kessinger, would you stay silent, or would you put up your hand and say, here I am, let me open the damn gates, let's talk about it. Let me go on to Scott Reich and clear the air. Would you do that if you were her? So some people say I would talk, others say stay silent. Thank you, Radka. Is there a chance to view your photography work? That is a great question. It's kind of a sore point because a lot of my photography was on Facebook, so people could go and view it there. I do need a way to showcase it, and it's kind of the reason why on Monday I'm actually interviewing another video editor. I just got so much material all over the place, written material, photos. The question is how to put it out there. Do you just put it in a slideshow? Do you narrate it? What sort of photos, kind of thing. I do have Instagram, but I don't really put a huge amount of effort into that. But let me know what sort of photos you mean. Do you mean sort of travel photos or magazine work? That is something I might be doing eventually on Patreon. It's just showing you my magazine journey and some of the photography that was involved with that, and some of the photographs that I really that mean a lot to me. My own photos, but also from other people. So Corin asks, were the girls dead when Shanann got home? So that's something that I, thanks Lee, show them a photo book or art gallery. Maybe we'll get to that at some point. That's something I established really early on, was that because he wanted the rest of the night free, he did kill the children. He also wanted the night free to take care of Shanann. So he didn't want the children to get in the way. So people who think that the children were sort of in the car running around, I just find that quite interesting. It's, I guess, the equivalent of, if I can personalize it, if I wanted to break into somewhere, would I take my dog along? Would I, and then you open the door and the dog runs out, but why would you do that? Why would you make things harder for yourself? I don't believe that he botched the killing the first time. I think that is said to minimize what he did. In other words, it wasn't premeditated. It wasn't this cold, calculated murder. I think him saying that he botched the thing was the same psychology as him botching the miscarriage. I do believe he botched the miscarriage. What do you think was up with the basement refrigerator? I don't know. Like, that is a good question. I don't know whether it was a reminder to himself. I don't know whether it was kind of like an alibi to say, yes, I was in the basement. I was checking the refrigerator. I don't know if he was overthinking it. But one thing that I think is easy to miss with that photo of the basement refrigerator is we know for a fact that's where he was at that time. Do you get what I'm saying? In other words, he was in the basement. He didn't exercise, but we know for a fact that he was in the basement on the night in question. And I remember really early on just feeling like I know all about this house from the Shanann's Facebook posts. The one area I don't know is the basement. And I was trying to get hold of blueprints and so on. Why? Because the basement is kind of the most logical place if you commit a crime to hide bodies, to clean things up, and all that kind of thing. Connie, you've asked, could Shanann access the baby monitor on her phone? I don't think so. That's come up before. I don't think she could. If she could, I don't think she would have asked for photos of the children in bed. That makes sense, but it's not a bad question. What exactly was his plan? His plan was to make his family disappear, and for all intents and purposes, he succeeded for the first day in that. Okay, so another point I just want to talk about briefly. We had 45 minutes about. I think we'll make this about an hour. I haven't had dinner, so that's also why. Do any of you want to see Timmy? Is at my feet. Anyway, I'll maybe show him to you in a moment. Now he's stood up. Okay, so something that I think was news to me. It's hard to know what I did know and what I didn't know, but I think something that was news to me. Everyone wants to see Timmy. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you him in 1 or 2 minutes. Let me just get through this. Shanann went to her in-laws to pick him up on the night of August 6th during a power failure. Now, that was after all the rigmarole where she said she didn't want to see them. And she was just insisting that she didn't want him to spend the night there. But I think I understood that from the phone data review, excluding what she said to Christina, that that he wanted his father to take him home, and that's what I understood happened. That his father did take him home. That's what I understood happened. Timmy's settled back down now. He had stood up. Okay, and then the final point is, let me ask you guys, let's kind of get a bit of a consensus. Well, everyone wants to see Timmy. Maybe before we get to that, Timmy, come on, come on. There he is. Hello. He's a little bit fast asleep, guys. Come, look that way. Look. How's that? You just can't quite see his eyes, hey? Okay, he's a little bit sleepy, so I'm gonna put him back down. Okay. Maybe he can sit on my lap. I don't know if I can. Okay. Where was I? So, how many of you think that Watts could have fielded a winnable defense? Stephanie, Annie, okay, Firefly, you've heard you say that before. Stacy, possible. Tiffy says no. He looks like me. Yeah, if his beard was ginger. Sakura says there's a chance. Anthony says no chance. Reduced charges, but still prison for sure. Jen, I think so as well. Yes, I'm also surprised I'm doing a live. I'm also surprised. I should be doing it in my studio, but yeah, just really didn't feel like setting things up there. Okay, so to address this thing about the winnable defense, I don't think he would have won. So I don't think he would have been like acquitted. I do think he would have won on a couple of contentious points. I think he could have raised doubt in a lot of areas. I think there would have been some jurors who I think would have sympathized somewhat with him in the same way that a lot of people in the true crime community, not the majority, but certainly a percentage, I think, would have sympathized with him. I think there would also have been some people who may not have sympathized with him, but would have said, "Well, it wasn't a straightforward situation, if I can put it that way." So I think he may have gotten something like possibly life with the possibility of parole, which I think is a big step, from life without parole. I'm not saying he definitely would have, and I'm not saying he would deserve that. I'm just saying that that was a possibility, and wouldn't it have been one worth fighting for? Because at the moment he's got no hope. He's in jail with nothing to live for, right? When you say it was indefensible that he killed his children, that's not what I mean. I'm not saying I'm talking about the legal standard. Would he have been able to defend himself in court? That's what I mean. I don't mean like subjectively is it defensible or not. Obviously, it's not. It's not right to commit a crime. I'm just saying, in a legal sense, would it have been defensible? Okay, so we had 50 minutes. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of the Watts case? Sorry, Ian, it's about to end. Oh, really? Teresa, did you lose your dog? Did you have a dachshund? Cadaver dogs. Yeah, I must say, Annie, um, that was a strangely complicated part of the case. Unnecessarily, I thought. Stacey, you say would love to hear about MLMs in a case. I must say, for those of you who aren't on Patreon, I have recommended that my patrons go and watch On Becoming a God in Central Florida. It's an excellent series. It illustrates that whole world in a very lucid way. So I want to recommend that you guys try and watch that. I'm also loving it, Stephanie. I think after dinner I'm going to be watching another episode. So Anthony says, do you think it's true that some of the footage from Nate's camera was removed? No, I don't think that's true. I think there's a bit of a misconception where during the sentencing hearing, uh, Frank Rusick said something like, I saw you take them out like trash, and that suggested that he literally saw something. Whereas I think maybe he was overstating something. I could be wrong. It could be that he did see something, but I don't think that's the case. I think what we saw is what he saw. What we know is what he knows, but I could be wrong. So I don't think something. No, it's not on Netflix. I think it's on Showmax. So I don't think that there's some missing Trinestich CCTV footage. I don't think so. What do you think was up with the cops checking on the woman breaking into the house? Which woman? Chris wasn't playing loud music, Teresa. He was, I think, he had the television on. It's about the same thing, though. Billy asks, how close was Chris Watts to getting away with it? I don't think he was that close, but I think he was closer than a lot of people imagine. I think if Kissinger didn't admit anything, it could have been a much tougher case. Also, if Nicole Atkinson didn't go to Shanann when she did, I think it would have been a different case completely. Why didn't he kill the little dog? Is it because he can't speak? That's not a bad question. I think there are a couple of reasons he didn't kill the dog. I think one reason is because Kissinger liked dogs. Kissinger had a dog, and maybe their dogs got along. Also, he didn't have anything against the dog. The dog wasn't really an expense, I don't think. Yeah. So Stephanie says if you have Amazon Prime, you can get the entire season for about $10. That's On Becoming a God in Central Florida. You might as well get Prime, then you can also buy my books. Okay, guys, we've got about 5 minutes left for questions. How's this live stream been so far? Are you guys hearing me okay? Do we know if their dogs met? Yes, they did. Well, I'm pretty sure that they did. I think that's mentioned somewhere. So Billy asks about motive. Do you think it's financial or the affair? I think you're leaving out one other dimension, that's the pregnancy. I think it was mostly because of the affair. But if the finances were fine, it wouldn't have happened either. So I think it was almost like 60% the affair and 40% finances, and the pregnancy brought matters to a head, if I can put it that way. Thank you, Connie. Thank you. Wow. Thanks very much. Thank you, Firefly, for doing a good job moderating as well. And yeah, I mean, this was definitely a lot less scary than I thought it would be. But I do wish I could hear your voices. Wish I could hear. Maybe we'll have one of you as a guest on the show. Stephanie, what do you think? So Firefly asked, do you think he'd gotten away with it? Would he have lived happily ever after? Or would his conscience have gotten to him? I think he would have been able to live happily ever after for a while. I think because he's an introvert, he's able to suppress his feelings, and I think he'd done that for a lot of his marriage. So, Holly, thank you. So I think he would have been able to live pretty happily ever after. I mean, you saw him on the Sermon on the Porch. He actually looked quite relieved, right? Ruth, thank you. Hutchingham, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if he was someone who would kill and kill and kill. I just don't get that impression about him. I don't think he wanted to kill his family. I think he was, it was a bad idea, but I think he was thinking about other options before that. And you get that from the phone data review. Stephanie, you also very humble. Stephanie, I actually thought I was going to be able to get photos of the giraffe on my dad's farm, but he had plans this Sunday, so maybe on Tuesday. Maybe I'll be able to show you guys some more footage on Tuesday. Do you think Nicole confused him with religion? Not quite sure what that means. Alive every Sunday, maybe every second Sunday or every third Sunday. Pleasure. Yeah, giraffes are very interesting animals. Does anyone want to see Timmy again? He's right here. He's licking my hand. The most authentic schnauzer in true crime. Okay, guys. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you for your questions. Thanks to all my patrons who are here, who are just the best. You guys are clever. You are so well-mannered and decent to one another. It's just always nice having you as part of the community. I just want to thank everyone that has participated in the super chat. I kind of was like, probably nothing's going to happen. And it's just, yeah, I feel quite sort of flattered and all that. So thank you to all of you guys. Also, the people on YouTube, you know, some of you, I see you guys very often. So it's nice that I've been able to respond to you guys directly. And maybe we can do this again at some point, maybe once a month or something like that. If you suddenly can't hear me, Timmy is actually chewing the cable. So you might not be able to hear me unless I can get it out of his mouth. Yeah, his PJs are pretty cute. I actually need to give him a shave, but because it's still quite cold, I'm waiting to do that. Just trying to get the cord out of his mouth. Oh, he's biting on this thing. This piece of strand. Okay, guys, we passed the 1 hour mark. Everybody, take care and thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys next time. Timmy, say bye.